Hello and welcome to another episode of Guyanese Swag. My name is McKay. I am your host, and we bring you interviews from leaders across the diaspora who are shakers and movers in their field getting things done, y'all. Today we have with us an entrepreneur at the intersection of people, technology, and real estate. His name is Shegun Holder, and I'm really excited to have you with us today. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Obviously excited to talk to a fellow Guyanese, and always excited to talk about what I'm working on.
I love it. The question we ask everyone is, where were you born?
I was born in London, Wimbledon. As a Guyanese, it's not the high point. As my aunts would say, I'm not a true Guyanese unless you're born in Georgetown or on the shores of Guyana, but I went to Guyana before my first birthday. And I've had a full Guyanese experience, left at the age of 18, but I did not have the honor of being born in Guyana.
I love it. Nonetheless, you had a full-blown experience being there from 1 to 18. And so when you left at 18, where did you go back to London?
No, so I went to school in Guyana. I went to President's College, well, to grade school in President's College. At the age of 18, I was a Guyana scholar. And that's when not being born in Guyana became pretty clear. And they're like, is he really a scholar if he wasn't born here? But I was Guyanese, so they accepted that. And I came to America. I came to America because my dad was a Guyana scholar too. And he said, you should take a chance and bet on yourself. And I did not go with a scholarship. I came to America, went to college, worked like everybody else in security, kitchens, tutoring, paid the bills, didn't know how you would take Guyanese money and make it work. My parents took a loan against their home. It paid for exactly 1 semester. And then I had to figure out how to do it on my own. And I started in Long Island and graduated later on. So, yeah.
Wow, that's quite the journey. So picking up from going to college, your parents telling you got 1 semester to figure this out, and then dabbling through odd jobs, and now to where you are today. Walk us through that pathway to kind of what piqued your interest into entrepreneurship, and where you are today as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I think in a way, I've been blessed to have grown up among Guyanese people who are always cheerful and optimistic. And my background was finance. I was going to do finance. And while at Hofstra, I had a chance to do an internship in banking. And the prospect of working every night till 6 in the morning was not exciting. And so I was like, I like finance, but I hate giving up my whole life. And so I ended up doing real estate. Which is a 9-to-5 blue collar type thing, but was finance. And I did real estate for a major accounting firm. I had a chat. I did all throughout this country of America. And there was a project with hotels in the Caribbean, Barbados and Grenada. And I remember this clearly. And I had done every part of America, and I begged to be on the project in the Caribbean. And they're like, but you don't have experience in the Caribbean. And I'm like, I've got more than everyone else in this room. And they're like, well, but you don't have hotel experience. I didn't have industrial experience when I started there too. And I've been to hotels in the Caribbean, so I know exactly how they work. And I didn't get it. And so I decided I was going back to school. And I was blessed to go to school at the Wharton School in Philadelphia, which at the time was the #1 school, and in my opinion still is. But in telling my story, they had to come with a unique story. And everyone else was, I'm a banker, I want to create some fancy instrument and so on. And the one thing I felt that was unique, but world-class, was real estate property. Using our island neighbors, a beachfront in Barbados or Jamaica is as valuable as anywhere in the world. And my ability to take finance and vision and create something special was as great as anybody in New York or London could do. Bonds and stocks we care about in the Caribbean, but we don't lose sleep over those. Places mean something to us. I also felt that there's a unique story that whenever you talk about the Caribbean, the people connect to, even if they've never been there. And if they've been there, it puts a smile on their faces. And so I wrote an essay about doing that. And then I went to school and the world got ugly and there were no jobs. I went back to Wall Street. And one day I woke up, probably 7 years after, and there were layoffs. And I had a chance to work for a company that tried to make experiences of real estate. And here in New York, there's a place called Chelsea Market, which is a fun place to go to, lots of food, lots of energy. And I ran the Boston group for that. And we made places where Reebok and America's Test Kitchen did food festivals, and Jameson was just experiences. And every time I went to the Caribbean, I kept thinking, how could I do this locally? How could I build places that people have the energy that we have in our spirits? But life is what it is, and we all need a dollar. And so I went to work and forgot that dream until a period of time. I think the pandemic opened up my eyes. So my ex-wife is an attorney that basically fights for people's rights, a public aid attorney. And my daughter's like, Mom fights for justice, social justice. What do you do? And my answer at the time was, I help very rich people become richer. I don't build buildings. I don't design buildings. I don't even make experiences. All I do is use my mind and financial skill to get people to pay more money. And inevitably, I didn't think that was something that the world needed. And my 7-year-old daughter couldn't understand, more importantly. And I had an opportunity to try to do something differently. And at that particular time, people were debating whether they wanted to be in the office or not. And I think most people did not want to be in the office. And my job was basically based on the premise people go to the office. So imagine a world whereby people would find an experience that was so engaging that they would actually want to be outside the home. And we came up with an idea. Company's called Work Everywhere. And the product was supposed to be called Office X. So we pitched it for about a year. And like most entrepreneurs who were minorities, no one would invest in us. We had a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of half bites, but nothing exciting. And then 2 points of intuition came along. My daughter did never like the name Work Everywhere. She liked the name Work with Friends. She said, nobody cares about working everywhere. We want to work with friends. That's what they care about. And we were like, okay. And then my co-founders loved that idea. And they said, what about if instead of somebody going to an office they like, just being able to leave home and go to a place they enjoy? And I started thinking, how can you make that into a business? And WeWork is the biggest competitor. But instead of going to a co-working place, I live in Brooklyn, leaving Brooklyn and going to co-working, which is mostly downtown Brooklyn and Williamsburg, so very close to Manhattan. What about if you can leave Canarsie and go to a little coffee shop that's owned by a local entrepreneur? Or you can go work in a school because you're going to help to read a book in the nursery school, but you can actually work in the school and be present for your child. We've all benefited, if you're a parent, for the last 2 years of being able to spend more time with your children, although some people did not enjoy having to work, plus have a kid hanging off your neck. But our kids were definitely bonded through that. Or here in New York, in Brooklyn, we've got a Brooklyn Museum, we've got a Botanical Gardens. These are all beautiful places. On the right day, they're all underutilized. And so we felt that the ability to make that come true for people led to where we are. And so we're building a product we call Joie. It's the Airbnb of workplaces. I'm going to stop and let you ask me a question.
No, first of all, I'm loving everything you're saying. For me, I started working from home in 2013. And so there's this always, first of all, people thought it was weird that I was working from home in 2013 because it's like, do you even have a job? Is this legitimate? Who does this? And so when COVID hit, for me, it was like, oh, I was already working from home. Nothing changed in my life. But the one thing that there was always this thing of when you work from home, it's like your work, like your home is work. So then it's like you don't really have much interaction of going out. And when you go out, it's like, I'm going to run errands or I have specific things I'm going to do. And then I'm back home because everything I need is at home. But the idea of being able to say, hey, I'm working at the Botanical Gardens today, or I'm working at a coffee shop, or I'm working at a park, which for me is like, these are all things I love to do. Like, I love the idea. And I love how you're able to take all the areas and spaces that you've been in, finance in the Caribbean, and even your upbringing and all those things, and merge it into one thing. Talk to us more about the project in terms of when is the launch for the project and what can people expect once they're on the Airbnb of workplaces.
Yeah, so I think it was important. So I come from a finance background, which is dull and boring, let's be honest. And my co-founders and I wanted to build experiences. We wanted to get to the point whereby the physical disappeared and you just enjoyed being there. And so we imagine a world, let's use Brooklyn Museum. You're booking, you come to the Brooklyn Museum, you get an email after you book it, and it's like telling you about some of the art that's available to arouse your, create some anticipation. And then you have an app, you show, you at the check-in desk, they go to a room, and your head's down, but at the same time, you can sort of have idle chat over coffee and so on. And we try to create what we call these defining moments. And defining moments is such that since you're in the museum, the curators in the museum, they can be like, let me take you back in the archives and have a half an hour that exposes you to something about art. And you're like, this is amazing. You and I grew up in Guyana. And so an example of this would be Border no longer exists the way it does. But if you happen to be back in Guyana, and Border is the cricket ground of Guyana that many records have been set, and you're like, I want to be in Border, like feel the energy of Clive Lloyd when he had incredible teams in the past. And yes, there's no cricket that day, but I'm in the home of cricket in Guyana. And you could sort of imagine that. And so that's a defining moment, but even create a reflection, but also allow you to invite a friend. So you work on your project, I'm working on my own project, but we can sort of be there. We can go to lunch together. We even imagine different use cases whereby, as I was saying before, whereby you can take a pet or a child to work in these designated special types of workplaces. And so today you're at the Botanical Gardens, tomorrow you're taking a child to work, and next day you're working close to a parent if you had to visit them. And the idea is that you have true flexibility. And joy, so joie, which is the name of the app, which means joy in French, joie la vie, which is living your best life. The sense is that how you should not just look at joy as I can run around the world and have fun. Sometimes joy is having somebody help you with your burdens, right? I have work and I have a child, and being able to find a place where the child can enjoy themselves and I could be part of the present in their lives but still work, that could be joy. Or it could be the case whereby I can explore my neighborhood, or I can connect with a friend, or I want to travel and I could do more exploring rather than just sit in my room while working. The idea is that man went from brawn, which is mostly slavery for us, to brain, cognitive, 2 + 2 + 2, CXC exams, to curiosity and creativity. The value you provide, the value I provide, is not our ability to add things faster. Computers can beat us every day. It's our ability to lift things. Technology and machines can do that better. It's the ability to think in new and different ways, in ways that we take our knowledge and imagination and come up with new things. And it applies a human emotion. In our history, coming from industrial times, some would argue from slavery, we've been machines to produce. And I think today selling and experiences are about being human. And we hope that if a company wants to employ someone, they want them to be themselves. And I know that's also a little controversial, but in a way, I'm in the office some days, and then when I'm outside the office, I can be myself. I'm an accountant, but I love art. So when I'm not in the office, I want to go work in an art gallery. And it allows me to know that. It allows me to connect with friends who love art in the art gallery. And when I'm in the office, I bring that energy, the joy, but also the fact that art inspires me into my idea and curiosity and so on. And I think that's what we're hoping to build. Because I went to business school, I have to include this piece too. So let me dissect and come back. In the pandemic, George Floyd, I think there were some conversations that were started. The ones I sort of leaned in heavily on, was wealth creation, especially for Black and Brown individuals. And one of the things I liked about Airbnb and my version of the Airbnb story. So Airbnb will tell you they were started in New York. They will tell you that when they were in the accelerator in California, their advisors like, where are your customers? And they'll say they were in New York City. I believe the story is edited, and the answer is that their customers were in Brooklyn. And the answer was because every year, Labor Day, 1 million visitors come to New York, and we all jump up and down in Brooklyn. But there's no hotels in central Brooklyn. And so for me to come to Carnival, especially if I didn't live here, I have to go stay by my auntie's cousin, my friend's friend, and I'm on the couch and so on. In 2007, the world was ugly. People were losing their homes. And Airbnb was being started. I could not pay my mortgage, not me personally, but the person in this case. And they're like, how do I pay my mortgage? And Carnival came around, Labor Day. And I had the ability to say, you could come stay by my house. And what you would pay me for a week was enough for me to pay my mortgage. And that became Airbnb. And one of the people who did that handed a book to the founders of Airbnb, and they built around that. But the part that also I liked is that when you go to Linden, Guyana, where I grew up, or Bartica, Lethem, there's an Airbnb in all these places. And it's not owned by a big hoteler or the largest business person. It's owned by a regular person who decided to take a bet on themselves. And then they tell a story. And some Airbnbs are very simple, but for the right person, it's perfect. And the income it delivers to them is meaningful for them. And they really provide hospitality and experience. And I've had the privilege of doing it mostly in Europe, but in Guyana too. And I think that's part of what I want to build. I want to build Joie to be a place whereby every home can become a hotel, every structure can become a workplace. And so every structure can become a Joie. And so you could be looking at a backyard where you overlook a creek, Blackwater Creeks, you and I know in Guyana. And for the right person, it's magical. And they'll pay $20 to work there. And for that Guyanese family, in this case, it's 4 seats with 4 times $20 is meaningful for their income. And it's an asset they had. It's a beauty of our country. And it allows us to tell the story because everyone who comes there takes back a memory of the Guyanese story. And so that's, to me, the piece that I got really excited about. I've got a lot of competitors, and a lot of them are focused on how do we make the machine faster, more efficient? How do we provide better solutions for the financiers? I'm surrounded by my West Indian people. And I believe, although I consider myself uniquely dull and boring, I think they are incredible in bringing joy and energy to people. Trinidad Carnival, cricket games, the streets of Georgetown, every place there's an energy and a freedom and relaxation. And I think if every people keep giving me inspiration, and I can bring it out so that how we can spread the joy we have that's unique in our island in this product to people throughout and enable us to use this revolution that's happening in the future work, whereby we can create many mini entrepreneurs that can build businesses and lifestyles and tell their stories in different parts of the world. I think that would be incredible. And then I think the last part of it is that I believe that how one of us could build a unicorn in tech. And I don't think that I can build it because it's my vision. I think it's that if I listen to people and build around them, humble enough to keep tweaking for them, I enable them to choose joie, uplift it. And whether they're the hosts, the ones that turn their spaces into joies, or the visitors or guests, we think we could build something that we're proud of. And rather than be forced back into a solitary white box, live a life that we can reflect on at our last days and say, we've lived, we've worked, we've lived in a way that we think reflects who we are, and we've been human about it. So that's what I hope to do. To answer your very basic question, when do we finish? We hope to launch this month. The current website is Get Joie. We're going to probably change it to We Joie. Again, my daughter's inspiration. Work with friends is the key thing. So We Joie. There's a little bit of a tickle because our competitors we work. Work can be a chore. We Joie is fun and exciting. So that's the idea. We're going to make a lot of mistakes, and we encourage people to use it, tell us what's wrong, criticize it. We all know in the Caribbean we love to be critical, but as we do that, we build better. And as we keep building better, hopefully we build something that people love, and we'll always be listening and always be humble. And hopefully we deliver joy to people's lives. So that's our goal.
I have so many questions for you, but on that note, we're going to take a quick break for a message from today's sponsor, and then I'm going to come back with all my questions because I have a lot of them.
Meet Kim. She recently moved to a new neighborhood and has a craving for pine tart and cheese rolls. She Googled Guyanese restaurants in her neighborhood and received recommendations for Ghanaian restaurants instead. While she was at the park walking, her dog Kim ran into Susan, a fellow Guyanese, who introduced her to the Guyanese Swag Business Directory, a comprehensive listing of reputable Guyanese-owned businesses across the diaspora. Kim now regularly visits the GuyaneseSwag.net, where she can easily find trusted and reliable Guyanese-owned businesses and stay updated on upcoming events throughout the diaspora. Since the directory offers detailed business profiles, including pictures, videos, specials, contact information, and even reviews from neighbors, Kim is able to stay connected to her roots in her new home away from home. Register your business for free by visiting GuyaneseSwag.net.
Hello and welcome back. So we were just getting into some of the good stuff with Shegun. So first of all, I love everything you said. I love everything that you guys are working on. I love the vision. And there's a couple things that I want to lean into, because you talked about the micro entrepreneurs that evolve from big tech and big technology and big development, and the micro businesses that are able to grow and flourish, that support local families and local individual people to really be able to flourish from their own community, not feeling the need to get up and move somewhere else because they're not thriving in the place that they call home. For the entrepreneurs who will grow and be born and their businesses will evolve because of the technology that you guys are developing, the products that you're delivering, and hopefully the magical experiences that people are able to have from using the app and from visiting the places that you guys are looking to incorporate into the app. For those business owners and for the people who would listen to this video or listen to this audio and say, that sounds interesting and I want to, or I wish I could, speak to those people and speak to speak to the people who would listen to this audio and say, I want to, but I'm afraid to, or I don't know how to. What would be your take to that?
Yeah, so first thing I would say, joie is a relationship builder. And it enables community. There's two communities. One is a community of proximity, people who live nearby. So I am nearby, it enables you to engage them. It's also a community of practice. What you have is a special place and you know it. So we enable you to tell that story. And we enable them to see the story and match with you. Our goal is that we're not trying to get you to be the top of the list. We're trying to get you to be the perfect place for the perfect person who has that interest. And so we help you to boost your story. We help you to find the audience, connect with them, and build these relationships. And so for a micro entrepreneur, Our app will be available in both app stores. You can join as a guest, and then you can sort of review other joies in the app. And then you just slide a button, just like Airbnb, to become a host. And then you upload your story. And basically, you set a price, whatever you think is fair for your space. You have the ability to adjust it. You have the ability to adjust the seats. A joie is not co-working. People are there for the story and the community. It's a very basic thing. You need a place, good Wi-Fi, a place to plug in, water or coffee, depending on where you are, or both, depending on where you are, and access to bathrooms, preferably hidden from the elements so it doesn't get wet. But it's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be a place that the people around you, the views and the energy around you is what you're there for. If I walk into a joie and you want kombucha, or I want fancy chairs, and that's not the idea. There's an office and there's a home. I'm not saying that wouldn't exist. I'm saying the minimum requirement is that you have a willingness to tell your story and share it. And you're basically willing to build and enable a community. That's the idea. Some people may think, I don't have a perfect place. That's fine. Imperfections don't matter to some people. And frankly, they're lovely to others. I personally am not a writer. I'm a terrible writer. But there are days when I need to put together a proposal, I go to the Writers Guild. And being in that room among that energy makes me a better writer. Because I just look around and I feel part of the community. I'm not there every day. There are other days when my daughter is part of a public school. I go there. I was in Grenada, to be more relevant to this audience. And I did a tour around the island. They had a waterfall overlook that's empty most of the time. And it's a beautiful image. And I could put it on Instagram. I can spend as 5 minutes there or 15 minutes on a typical tour, but I can spend 8 hours just embracing the beauty of nature. We also went to a yacht club. And while I don't have a yacht, and I probably will never do that, but being able to sit out there by the water and enjoy that moment. These are all underutilized places. And for the person on a yacht, it's lonely to walk off a yacht and not have anyone to connect with. And to be able to have that conversation in that place and be able to enjoy Grenada beyond just the hotel, to me, was meaningful. And I think that's what you're looking for. So I would say that if someone has passion about the place they have, and they believe they want to build an experience where people can walk away and go like, that was magical today. That's what we want to do. And then some of us will not get it right day one. And so we want to enable you to do it better and better every day. So if I'm doing overlooking Guyana, I can share that information with somebody who's doing a similar thing in Grenada. And we could build a small community whereby I did this and it worked. How about you try that? And we can sort of each enable ourselves. There's no requirement to charge, although I do know a lot of people will do it for money. There's no minimum requirement. The idea is that how it's something that you care about, you set the prices, you set the community. We enable it to happen in a way that's no friction. It should be something that you just look at someone's phone, wave them by. It should be less than 5 minutes of your time. You can live your life, do what they want, and they can embrace it without being a distraction to you, and engage as you see appropriate. So that's what we want to do. We want to create thousands, millions of micro entrepreneurs where they can own their place, tell their story, and build relationships. And so that's Joie is a relationship builder for them.
I want to shift vehicles a little bit. As someone who has been in the space of 9 to 5, and now you've evolved to entrepreneurship, and now in a role where you're looking to empower thousands, hopefully millions of other entrepreneurs to evolve and to create experiences with you. What advice would you give to the person who wants to be an entrepreneur? They're in that place of a 9 to 5 and they're looking to transition to entrepreneurship.
I think that, frankly, to be an entrepreneur, you have to find something that you're passionate about. Some of us wake up every morning and don't want the rigor of a 9 to 5. Others of us fell out of bed and fell a few things and ended up in this position that the only way to stand up was to be an entrepreneur. I'm the second. I've done 20 plus years of corporate. I love the privileges of corporate. I'll be frank. I used to enjoy sitting in the front of the plane drinking scotch. As an entrepreneur, you sit in the back of the plane and you're happy because you're trying to get runway to build a business. But there's a joy in building something that creates impact to people's lives. There's a joy in living your life to the fullest extent and knowing that how I am doing what I believe I can do to the limits of my limitations, encountering challenges and solving problems. So I think, to me, if you believe you want to solve problems, if you believe you're truly creative, I think, to me, an entrepreneur is something you want to do. You can do it inside of a company, you can do it outside. But I do think that you always have to ask yourself, we've got one life to live. Loneliness is happening in our society. You've got to find a way to drive joy into your life. And if your job allows it, great. If your job doesn't allow it, go looking for it. And if you keep looking for it and it leads you to entrepreneurship, that's great too. But you must do what you do in life that brings you true joy. In my opinion, there's sometimes a sense that entrepreneurship is not in our blood. And I would argue it is. And I'm speaking sort of a Caribbean, Guyanese perspective. I believe that how we grew up in a society where everything we did for ourselves, we created, we solved problems. And fundamentally, if you look around looking for problems and you believe you can help solve them, that's the essence of being an entrepreneur. I think the winning element of being West Indian, and it's not uniquely West Indian, but I do think it is West Indian to our core and value, is being human. I think we can look at a problem and everyone can see a solution. But I think when we look at our values, can find a more human solution. And I think going forward, to sell is human. And so if you're selling against competition, there's competition in everything. If you could be more human, people will feel like you're really connecting with them. And I think that's the part that's really interesting. I also think that how I'm a finance type, and I do think that how the ability to have tremendous financial impact for your families, for others, to break stereotypes is true entrepreneurship. Not everyone has to do it, but some of us definitely have to do it because we need to create this world whereby we can create wealth, we can create impact, and we can tell others that it is possible.
From your finance background to entrepreneurship, 9 to 5, all that stuff, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs, or even the person that's in the 9 to 5 role, to prep them for entrepreneurship financially?
I think the lesson I look back and think about is that it's going to be hard. And it's especially going to be hard because if you're Black or brown, the financial resources to build will be harder to get, will be harder to close deals. And you're going to find a different gear, especially if you're successful. You're going to become something that you didn't even imagine. You're going to be better. And people buy, invest, support businesses that they want to exist. And so you yourself are going to have to grow faster in your business. You're going to become the biggest influencer for your business. And so it can be something that you see as a nice gimmick. You have to be something that you believe in. Because at moments when you want to quit, you just can't be. This is who you are. This is who you, and they say the most powerful form is someone's identity. So you're going to have to get to the point whereby entrepreneur is your identity. It's not a thing you're doing today. It's who you believe you are. And that's your purpose on this earth. There will be failure, is the other thing I would say. And failure is the first attempt at learning. And so in that failure, the question is, what did you learn? And how do you pick up and go again? The one thing that our society doesn't always do is encourage failure. And so I think you need to accept that you will fail, people will criticize, but you will learn. And as you learn faster, you will find yourself into a position whereby inevitably you'll have success. And so the real success is learning, and then the financial success comes after. And so the question you have to want to do is you see a problem, embrace a challenge, and you keep learning faster and faster and faster. Because if you're doing that, eventually you'll lead to awesome success. So that would be my thing. The last thing I would say, regardless of whether you're an entrepreneur or you keep a corporate job, you must be authentic to who you are. And that's truly living your life not based on guidebooks, but living your life based on who you really are. There are many moments when I've taken a break and just limed, and somebody said something or did something, or I was on a plane to Guyana and a random person said something that would mean nothing, except it just triggered a thought, and it caused me to think of a way to pivot or to tell a story. And in a way, to me, that's the other part. It's just be authentic. Don't feel like the road that someone else has run, Elon Musk, is the road that you have to run. You can run a different road, and your road can be just based on be willing to learn, listen, and tell stories. And if you're truly authentic about those things and in your values and passion, I think you'll be successful.
You said something that I want to dial back into, that you have to grow faster than your business to be a successful entrepreneur. Talk to us about that, because I think that many times people look at entrepreneurship, especially in this day and age of technology, where it's all glamour shots and nobody's showing the real behind the stuff scenes, the moment where you're on the floor bawling and trying to figure out why this is not working. You don't see those moments on Instagram, but of course you see the mountaintop experiences. But you said that to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to grow faster than your business. What does growing faster than your business look like practically?
Yeah, so I think technology has changed and is changing so fast that we don't have to learn to code anymore. We frankly don't need to know how to make a web page. But a creative mind can solve problems. The first thing you have to do is you have to be listening, understand the problem deeply, and be willing to understand the problem so deeply that you understand the intrinsic motivations. And so for me, there's a problem, understanding it, then understanding what's behind it, then understanding the person who's on that journey, the customer on that journey, who they are, what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish. Too many times we assume certain things based on our biases, and we don't put ourselves into the seat of the customer, show real empathy. And I think if we do those things, again, those are all learning, but those are learning about humans, quote unquote, a bartender or somebody at a bar, that's the kind of learning I'm talking about. And then we sort of think, but how do we use technology to embrace and live along that? Companies like the ones that we know, Facebook, Amazon, they do a great job of aligning with a human emotion. Every one of those companies is around a human emotion. And so I think any company that's going to be large in tech is around a human emotion. Obviously, ours is joy. That's our ambition. But I think the second thing that is key is that when people have an identity, quote unquote, I am an entrepreneur, I'm a dancer, and you can help support their identity rather than manipulate their mind, you could be much more effective. Convincing me to be a dancer if I don't want to dance is possible, but it's not really great. If I think I'm a dancer, helping me to be a better dancer, it's like magic. And I think that is you have to do. And so technology has made it possible that by the next generation, if you're listening to people, you pay attention, you go deep in understanding human psychology, and then you build around that, is there. I think the last part of it is that storytelling. And storytelling to me is obviously the ability to talk, but it's also the ability to understand the essence, put it into a message. People talk about what Nike does. Nike doesn't really sell shoes, it sells motivation that you can accomplish things. I think that how you walk through Starbucks Market and you just listen to the conversations people say, those little snippets they say as you walk by has the same thing, if you can bring it through in a way. If we can use our colorful language in a way that it engages people, reminds them who they are, their identity, but uplifts them, is really beneficial. And then find unique ways. So for example, again, we're a tiny company hoping to launch. But we've thought about when we do launch, how do we have really own our space? In every major city in America, in Europe, there's a Caribbean carnival. The name of our business is Joy. There's nothing more joyful in some places than Labor Day or a Carnival Day. Nobody in technology or any business sponsors a band. So we could do something like that, that is joy, and it's the essence of who we are. People go like, well, that's joy. We see it, we feel it. And that's it's who we are. 3 of us are Caribbean background. And so we can tell that story. It's who we are. It's not unauthentic. We can go buy an ad on TV, but it's not the same. It doesn't connect the same way. And for a particular audience, that's meaningful. And I think that's the kind of, to me, the thing I would say to focus on. I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, no, you absolutely did. Bringing our conversation full circle. My final question for you is, throughout this entire conversation, you've emphasized the word joy. What does joy mean for you?
I think joy is internal. It comes from a point where you're aspirational, but you're also content. You're also resilient. Happiness is not joy. Happiness to me comes from a sense that I need to achieve something that's outside of you to get to happiness. When I get a Mercedes, I'm going to be happy. The fact that I could see my mom smiling in the kitchen and happy that we're in the house, to me, could be joy. Right? It's not a big house, it's not a fancy house, it's not a new kitchen, it's just that we're there, right? It's, to use a very crazy example, you're back in Guyana, there's mosquitoes, there's a blackout, and you're cracking jokes. It's joy. It may not be happiness. You wish you didn't deal with mosquitoes, you wish you didn't have a blackout, but there's joy. You're not looking and wishing you were somewhere else, you're embracing that. And to me, that's what joy is. Joy is a willingness to be accepting. It's a willingness to be content. It's a willingness to be resilient. It's also a willingness to be optimistic, but not seeing a failure or hurdle as a reason to fall low, but as a way to learn and grow. And to me, that's what joy is. And I do think that how with joy, we become more resilient, and joy carries on even in those moments when it's not so positive. And so that's, to me, what joy is to me. How do I get joy? I think is part of the answer you're asking me to. I think I get joy from my daughter. I get joy from being around West Indians. I get joy from traveling. And I'm unique in traveling that most people want to go to Europe and see Big Ben or whatever. I want to go to Europe and live the life like if I was a Black person living in Europe. And so I want to go to the parties that I would have gone to if I lived in Europe. I want to go to the restaurants I would have gone to. I want to do that in every country, whereby I feel like every one of those countries is like home. And I guess I'm saying I want to belong in those places. I want to get to the point where I would say from Canada to Toronto, Canada to London, England, to Paris, France, to Lisbon, to most Caribbean islands, you could kick me off of a plane, give me $100, and I could survive for a week just fine. Because I know exactly what I'll do, what's there. Doesn't mean I can stay in a fancy hotel, because $100 can't do that. But it means that how I know what makes myself enjoy those places and find belonging, find joy. And that's, to me, what I'd like to do. And I think for people, I want to do that. And the way I imagine doing it is removing some of the worries and stress, which we all have, not all, but some. Enable people to have those moments where they can really enjoy and embrace something for longer periods of time, or just providing more moments that align with their interests. And, joy is unique to each of us. I don't know your joy, you don't know mine. You will grow and discover new joys. And my goal is this is a tool, joie, to enable you to grow and do that. Hopefully you smile more, and hopefully you enjoy life itself.
I love it. Let me tell you, I enjoyed every bit of this conversation. It's definitely been meaningful. And I know for the people who are watching and listening, this is also meaningful as well. For those who want to reach out and connect with you, they want to be a part of what you're doing, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so I'm going to ask for some patience, but by the end of June, we're going to have apps in both the Apple Store and Google Play Store. And the name of the product is called Joie, Joie -joy. So you can type joy or Joie. It's a nice J. Our website is going to be We Joie. We're launching it very soon. And the goal is we're probably going to start in New York and then the Caribbean. So anyone wants to go home for the summer and spend a month working, think of us as a place to explore and discover. And then eventually London. Those are my 3 homes: London, New York, and the Caribbean. Our goal is to be everywhere, though. Everywhere there's an Airbnb, there'll be a Joie, is our goal. In our website, we may not be on your city right away. Tell us where you want us to be. Tell us where you want it to be a Joie. I think we have a question, which is, what is the place you want to be a Joie? Like, what is the place that you think is a magical place to work? Some of my team that was building our website is based in South Africa. And then to explain the concept to them, we said, would you love to work in Mandela's old home where he lived before he passed? Would that be magical for you? And I think they understood that. We're an open door. Feel free. Tell us. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Get Joie today. And feel free to reach out. Tell us a story. Tell us where you want to be. We encourage you to either be a guest or a host, but always tell us how we can be better. It would be the key thing. And thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Once again, I enjoyed this conversation, and I know you guys have too. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and while you're down there dropping us a comment, make sure you click the links in the description to connect with Shegun and everything that he's doing. His company is doing amazing things. They're working to not just build amazing experiences for all of us, but really to elevate the entrepreneur experiences and to create millions of more entrepreneurs. So thank you guys for tuning in with us today. We appreciate your time. Go out and be phenomenal. Thank you.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell.